Hello everyone, welcome back to the next session of SAP Security. In this session we will be discussing about HR authorization. HR authorization concept have two different elements. First one is HR structural authorization and HR general authorization. First one is HR structural authorization. HR structural authorization are position based and used to restrict access to organizational objects like jobs, tasks, organization units, person or position, etc. HR general authorization are role based. Roles are created using PFCG transaction code with necessary authorization and for their specific task. So these are two different things. Structural authorization based on positions to restrict particular organizational object. Then HR general authorization, it's a role based authorization using PFCG. You create a role, and in this one you assign authorization object same like other logistics to provide authorization to a specific task the user is supposed to execute. So these two different concepts used in HR. Let's see some of the HR objects. We have quite number of HR objects. P underscore APL. This is for HR applications. P underscore PCLX. This is for clusters. P underscore PCR. Payroll component. P underscore ABAP. This is for reporting. P underscore login. This is for HR master data. P underscore perner. This is HR master data but personal number check. P underscore org xx, that is extended check. This is also for HR master data. P underscore T code, that is transaction code. Then P log, that is for personal planning. P underscore 5Ns, this is for specific custom specific authorization. P underscore org con, P underscore org xx con, this is with context. P underscore triple N con, this is again custom object with context. We will see these objects. The main objects which we will be seeing in detail, that will be P login, P underscore login for master data. P login xx actually is an extended check, and we will also see P perner. P login con, this is same like P login. P org xx con, this is same like P login xx. This con means it's a context. So this is like a combination of structural and the actual authorization. We will see that how we can use this additional authorization objects. This is available after ECC. This is an enhanced version of this previous authorization objects. First one is how the data are being saved. We already know about the info types and the submodules of HR. First one is personal administration, PA. The data related to personal administration for this specific info types, this is saved with the table starting with PA then ending with the info type number. Let's say we had basic pay, then the table stored this basic pay will be PA 0008 because info type for basic pay is 00008. So the table which saves the basic pay is PA 0008. PB again leading with info type. This is used for subtype. This is a subtype of personal administration, subtype of PA, PB ending with that info type. Then you can access this table using SC16, SM30 and SM31. SC16 is table browser which we already seen. SM30 and 31 is for table change. If you want to edit the content of the tables, we will use SM30 and SM31. And the authorization objects which is used to restrict or permit authorization for personal administration is P login and P login xx, or The extended version is called plugin con or plugin exec con and ppartner. We will see how we can use this one, what is the objects inside this one, and p underscore appl for application. Then the next one is personal administration. Here the data are saved in the table HRP, then ending with info type, and the subtype will be HRT, then ending with info type. So authorization object for personal planning is plog. And the next one is HR clusters. The cluster tables are PCL1, PCL2, PCL3 like this. So each cluster which will have a cluster table. So authorization object for a cluster is P underscore PCLX. Cluster also a element of HR which has different cluster tables and different HR process based on the HR process in the respective area. When you see this information, you may already have some doubt. Let's say we are talking about HR is a very complicated and very sensitive data, and what happens if somebody go to SC16 and view this data? So that's a very critical part. Let's say whoever have authorization to view a table for this specific table can view all this data. So the information stored in the HR table also need to be restricted. We will come to that in a later session, how can we restrict table authorization. But the HR authorization concept, when you design a HR authorization concept, you need to consider this. The information in HR can be viewed by table maintenance or table browsing transaction code. So we have to be specific and we have to restrict authorization for HR table. So we have to restrict this one. So even in many of the customers, what we do, let's say they wanted to have very simple authorization concept for support consultants, then we don't make it so complex. For basis especially, because basis is the one who will have the all authorizations. So instead of providing a SAP all kind of authorization, we will create a role which will not have any HR authorization. We will take out all the HR objects, plugin, XX and everything, and we will remove authorization to view these PA tables and PB tables and HR tables. Then you can restrict them from accessing HR data. So this is one way of doing it. However, we will see in some scenario, some situation, we may still require to access this table for some HR support consultant. Then you need to monitor that one using some elevated authorization access with the emergency user or something. But as a concept, we don't allow any user to view any HR table, or you should not allow any user to view any HR table. HR security authorization switch. The first transaction code which you would like to see is OOAC table, OOAC transaction code. Basically this OOAC makes modification in the table T77SO. The OOAC table, we call this authorization switch. In this authorization switch, you can enable and disable what kind of authorization you would like to use. By default, if you see in SAP, this porgin is enabled. This orgin is enabled. porgin is enabled. XX is not enabled, and XXCon also not enabled. Everything related to con is not enabled, and ppartner also is not enabled. We need to enable only the porgin will be enabled related to PA, personal administration. Rest everything is not enabled. Then if you would like to enable, then you need to go to this particular transaction code and enable this additional authorization objects if you would like to enable that. Again, this may be done by the functional consultant. Security consultant in most of the cases does not do this, because you need to come to a conclusion whether this plogin is enough, or you want to go for plogin XX. This is based on the requirement from the customer, how complex it is, the requirement, how you wanted to design your functional specification and functional scope. So it is based on that. So the decision to enable this additional authorization objects should come from your project perspective, or the functional team, or the project manager. So in general, in normal cases, security consultant does not make the decisions, or security consultant does not make these changes. However, it is always good to know that you have this enabled or not. Especially in authorization, functional will be very closely involved in this development of authorization object, the development of authorization concept, because it's very closely involved with functional. So OOAC is the transaction code to enable and disable authorizations in HR. So let's go to the system and check this transaction. Right now I logged in as user trainer. Let's go to the transaction OOAC, that authorization switch. It's called HR authorization main switch. As I said, by default everything is not enabled, only the porgan will be enabled. If you would like to enable porgan XX, then we will change it to 1. Then when you save, then it will ask you to create a TR. Then you will create a TR. With this TR you will transport to quality as well as productive system. So right now we are not going to change anything. Let's leave it like this. And this is the table which saves all this information, T77SO. So let's go to this table, for example C16 T77SO. So this is the table name. Let's see what they have. So they have all the informations which is related to HR, should be here. So these are all the HR related information. It's a group for HR, AUTSW. From this group, then you can find the information for HR. So if you like, if it is says 0, that means it's disabled. If it is 1, that means enabled. Okay, in our case that only porgan is enabled, then we will see only porgan, and we will also see what is actually difference between porgan and porgan XX, so we can understand this better. Let's go back to the presentation. The next, what we are going to look at, authorization field. This is also very important. The first field is info type, INFTY. That you already know what is info type means. AUTHC, authorization level. Then personal area, personal sub area, employee group, employee subgroup, and organization key, and payroll administrator, and master data administrator, and time administrator, and display HR master data. So you can also, you may think what is this fields makes difference here, because these are all very important and very key field which we will be using in our standard SAP authorization objects. Info type, as you know, these are all the info types where we save the data. So each info type we can restrict using this field. Let's say one user wanted to see info type 001, then we can specify info type 001. Then next come to authorization level. This authorization level is something like activity in our logistics authorization. Then we have personal area. Personal area is, we can compare personal area with company code maybe. Yeah, this is the main PA configuration element. Then personal sub area, then employee group and employee subgroup. Then we have organization key, then payroll administrator. Payroll administrator, we can create this, you can have different payroll administrators, and we can differentiate payroll administrator for different each group, meaning payroll administration and payroll processing is one of the most sensitive in this HR. So instead of one specific group running the payroll for everybody, then they will also run it for their own group. Then we can have multiple payroll administrator created for one personal area. Then the one set of group will be processed by one person. The person who is processing the payroll for group number 1, or the group which processing the payroll for this specific group, their own payroll will be processed by group number 2. So they will also run payroll for a specific group. So their payroll, that person who is running for the group number 2 payroll will be processed by group number 1. So we can have kind of segregation within the payroll processing itself. So some example for this authorization field, for example AUTH authorization level. M means read with entry helps, R is read, S means write locked record. That means unlock if the last person to change the record is not the current user. So if you lock the user, then you cannot unlock it. That should be a different person who locked the user, then only you can unlock it. So that is yes. Then E, write locked record, you can write the lock record. D means change locked indicator, you can change it. Then W, write data records, that means you have write to all the data records. Star means all operations. So this is like activity in our logistics. So instead their activity we use the technical name 01, 02. Here we need to specify these technical names M, R, S, E, D, whatever it is, C, D, D, W, or all operations based on what you define in your authorization concept. Second most important one is the personal area. Personal area is an organizational entity representing an area within an enterprise defined by the specific aspect of personal administration or time management and payroll. If it is not same like company code, yeah, but if you wanted to technically somehow relate, then we can say it's something like company code. So this is the organizational entry which identify the personal administration of a enterprise, yeah, or a defined organization. Okay, let's get into the system and try to develop a role for HR. Let's see it in the system, little more about HR, then we can understand this better. First let's see PA20, display HR master data. Let's take one personal number, one employee, say 1000. This is a personal number of some employees. This is a personal number of Angel Muller. She is the director of human resource. If you see, these are all the info types. What are all the info types they have? They have the core employee info type, then employee contract data, then gross and net payroll and net payroll. Like this we have differentiated all the info types, or we have grouped all the info types. So if you wanted to see one specific data, one info type, then you will select this info type, then click display. Then it will take you to the specific info type. for this specific personal number. You like this, you can select the specific info type. Let's say I go to wanted to see the basic pay, then I select basic pay and say click display. I can see the basic pay. Otherwise, if you know the info type number, then we can type in here 0008 is the basic pay. I type 0008, then click enter, then it became basic pay. Now I simply select this, then it takes me to basic pay. So that PA20 is to display HR master data. Then we'll go to PA30. In PA30 you can modify these data. Let's say I want the address data which needs to be modified. I can click here and go to change. Now you can see all the change and other options which is available. Go to change mode. Here we can specify some changes. So now let's assume that I wanted to create, for example, right now if I go to PA20, I have authorization to see all the data. So I wanted to create authorization to display only basic pay. How do I do that? Let's create a role. PFCG. I create a role HR underscore basic pay display. Underscore HR HR basic pay display role. Here I can also add PA20 here directly in the menu, but I won't do that. I want to try with manual assignment. Say manually add yes underscore T code. PA20. You can use the menu to be very specific. You can use the menu out this transaction code, which will also add all other related transaction codes, related authorization object, which is the easiest one. I am using this manual method to make it very specific so that you understand each and every objects. Then I will assign P underscore login. If you let's see what PA20 SU24 says. /o SU24 PA20. I go to display. Sort by what is required. You need plugin, cluster, pburner, plog. So we will come to all this plugin, cluster and pburner, plog later. First let's see plugin. So here what I wanted to display only 008 info type 008 basic pay. I should be able to display only that. Then how do I do that? I'll go to authorization level. Here what is display? So if I don't know, I select here and say F1. Then that means R is the read, right? So I select I specify R. You can, if you wanted to have multiple activity or multiple authorization level, you can specify multiple authorization level. Info type for the basic pay is 0008. In the personal area, for time being, you can restrict by personal area. For time being, I just say star. I created a role only to display basic pay. So I save and generate. Let me also add SU53 in case. So I'll add SU53. We already know SU53 does not need any other additional authorization object in our case. Generate. Okay. Now let me create a user, assign this role to that user. /NSU01 security HR student 01. Safety security training HR user. Then I go to the roles and assign this role. So only role I am going to assign. Save. Now I am going to log in using this user. Go to my client 800 SCC underscore HR 01. Now I log into the system. Let me go to PA20. And I will go to the same personal number. So I went to the personal number. I could not see who is this user, what is their name, nothing. So let me go to this personal area. Basic pay, it says a tick mark. That means this we have authorization. Say this exists, others does not exist. This tick mark means that we have authorization to view this one. So I select this and say view. Here you can see what is the basic pay. What is the basic pay of this particular employee. At the moment you can see the basic pay, but you don't know who is this employee. You don't know what is their name, you don't know where they come from. You can only change the basic pay, you can only display the basic pay of this specific employee. So if you wanted to add additional info type, then you go back and add additional authorization to this user. Let's go to /n pfcg change. I want to have additional information. Info type 000 to 0002. So I add additional info type, generate, and I go back to this user again. And I go to PA20. Now you can see the user. So more details about the user. So you can have 000, 001 and 002. Action and personal data. Personal data is the one which has all these names and other related informations. So like this you can restrict the authorization for each authorization field or each info type for this organization. That is the very critical part of this HR. Inside one transaction code you have only mainly few transaction codes, so everything inside these transaction codes are controlled by this info type and these authorizations. So we need to be very specific about this info type which you are assigning to this user. If you are not sure about this info type used for what, then you can always go back to HR functional consultant and reconfirm this authorization objects. Now let's say I want to create a role to maintain address data. Okay, so I'll go to PFCG. Sorry, this is not the user I'm supposed to use. I'll go to the another user. PFCG and HR address maintain, and I say change. I say create single role HR address maintenance. Go here. Okay, this time let me use the menu. Transaction PA 30. You go to authorization to change authorization. Yes, of course I want to save the role. Plant version. Here if you see, the only the plant version is become the organizational value. Say star. Okay. Okay, first one is plog, that we don't use it now here. This is used for your plog is used for personal planning, so I don't use it now. So let me keep it deactivated. I will use only plugin. Again, the default authorization which you get from SU24 is not actually enough, because in SU24 inside PA30 what is the info type you change, what kind of authorization you required, it is still not defined. You cannot define SU24 because it's quite bigger than just a transaction code. You can do a lot of things inside this transaction code, so that we need to define it here. So our address data is info type 0006. Okay, for this we need authorization read, then write. That's enough. Let's go and check this one. Okay, we have read and write. We are not doing anything with the locked data. Okay, at the moment read and write. Then we have personal area. These are all we will put it star. So in the plugin we have personal area, same like as I said, company code, then employee group, employee subgroup, subtype, and organization key. And PCLX cluster, at the moment I will disable it because I am not using it at the moment, so we don't need this. Next one is P underscore Perner. This is a negative authorization. At the moment we don't use this. Okay, I'll just hide this one. Now I have only 006. Then let's assume that I wanted to display some of the basic information. I want to have 000, 001 and 002 whether this user should be able to display, so at least they know for which user they are changing the address information. So what I do, I will add one more plugin. Here what we will do, we will say only read info type 000 to 0002. So from low range, this is from high range, from 000, 001 and 002. All rest everything for all company code, all employees, I will allow them to see. Save, create a profile and generate the role. Let's assign this role to some user. So I will copy this role, go to SU01, my second student on HR. Create, trainer, go to roles and assign this role. Okay, so let me log in with this user. This user I log off. Mm, 800 02. Okay, so we have it in our menu, the maintain HR master data, since we added in our menu. Let me double click here. Okay, now we need to go to the address data. Our employee masters 1000, and let's see, we have quite number of 4 different info type which is we already exist. But when we created the role, we gave right authorization only to address. We did not give right authorization to all others. Let's see one by one. First, let's see address data. We wanted to change something here. Yeah, now we can change here. We can change something. So right now we don't want to change. Let's go back. Let's assume it's working. Let's go back. And let's go to the personal data and go to change. Say no authorization to maintain personal data exists. We can see, let's display. We can display. But if you go to the change mode, it say no authorization to maintain personal data exists. Let's see how does the SU53 looks in this case. /NSU53. Unfortunately we did not add SU53. Let's go back and add SU53 for this role. change. Can we add it here? We cannot add it here because this is coming from the menu. So either you add it in the menu, otherwise you need to add manually one more object, s underscore t code. Then I can add su53. We have explained this before, that if you wanted to change the transaction code which is added in the menu, you can do only in the menu. You cannot do it here. And save and generate. Let me go back to the user. This is the user. Go to, so we are trying to display some personal data. It's displaying, but I wanted to change. Say I don't have authorization. Let me run su53. su53. My su53 gives me a authorization error, s underscore something wfar underscore objects archive link. Now you may think, what is this authorization object? This is what we discussed before. Now the su53, what it is showing is nothing related to the action I did. So this is something is wrong. Maybe this is one of the objects which is related to PA20. I don't know, but I am sure this is s underscore means something related to, this is something related to system, but this is not the action what I did. Archive link means it's something to do with archiving. It's basically, archive link means basically a different product. There you can archive some of kind of purchase order which is coming from external party and scan it and put it in a different system and link to your sales order, this kind of solution. So this is basically, when you see s underscore something, it means it's something to do with system. So this is not what I did. So this su53 is wrong. So please, whenever you do some kind of analysis on su53, you also need to know what this particular user is going to do. Simply following the su53 is not going to solve the problem. So right now my su53 is incorrect. I can try one more time. That this is the practical problem. This is a basic problem in SAP. Sometime you don't get it, sometime you get it correctly. Let's say I go here again. Let me try one more time. Change. I got the error here itself. Let me try one more time. /NSU53. No, I did not get it. So what I will do, I can do, there is one more you can try. You create two different sessions. So I have two sessions, session 2, this is session 1. Okay, both of them for the same user, from the same user. This also user 02, this also user 02. This works sometime, not all the time. I will go to PA30. Let's select this. I try to change. Okay, I got an authorization error. I go to the second session. Here let's say /NSU53. Here actually /N is not required, but you know, when you are using so many times this transaction code, you are tend to use always /N before. That means if you are anyway trying to run a different transaction code, if you practice it like this, then if you are anyway somewhere in the other transactions, then you don't need to think whether you are inside the transaction or you are outside the transaction. So we just say /NSU53, then enter. I got the same authorization object. That is something terribly wrong. This is not what I want. So let's trace this user. ST01. sorry, I'm logged into the same user, so that don't have authorization. I need to go to my trainer account which has authorization to trace the user. So this is my trainer account. So I go here st01, go edit, filter, shared. I put the user ID. So I copy the user ID from here and filter it by user ID. Always filter it by user ID, then check this box and say trace on. Then let me do this action again. Select here, go to change. So I got an authorization issue. I go to trace off. This refresh button is also sometimes useful. If you see this timestamp is not getting refreshed, or it's uh, not giving you the right status, then you can simply click refresh. Okay, now let us analyze our trace. Let's go to analyze, SAP. Let's put the username. Okay, then I will change the time to 00223. No record found. So I will say 25. Here also it says the same authorization object, but still not sure. We need to check what this user is doing. As we know, this user is only doing change in the personal data. Then we need to really analyze what is happening with this user. So how can I do that? We have two possibilities. Now we are in a difficult situation. Our SU53 is not helping, our trace is not helping. We have the same authorization object. We know, yes, this authorization object is being checked, but we are not sure whether this is the really required one. So it is checking some archiving something. So I don't know, maybe in this system some archiving is enabled, archive. So we have two possibilities, that either we can add this authorization object into the role and check whether that's going to solve this problem, or the second possibility is, since we know this is related to info type 002, then which they are trying to change, which anyway they don't have the authorization, this we can find it out from our SU56, that they don't have authorization object. We can try to add that. So how do I know whether this user have authorization for 002? I will go to SUIM. So I wanted to make sure that user does not have authorization for info type 002. So right now I'm trying to change, this user is trying to change this authorization object, which is not there. Then I go to user, complex selection criteria, user, then I give the user ID here. This is my user ID. Then I go to p_login, info type 0002. This is what we are trying to execute. Let me execute it like this. So this is a user, double click. So this user have one profile which has the plugin 002. Then go to info type, not here, info type, then have only R. So in what I did, I try to run only the info type 002, then it says okay, this user has. So from this we can confirm this particular authorization is available with the user or not. Then right now we know this user have only display authorization. Let's try to add this authorization first, which this user is trying to do. So pfcg, so I need to add 002, save. In these type of situations, please do not add the authorization to the role which you are trying to fix. You may create a temporary role and add, and you can do this in the quality system, not in the productive system. Reproduce everything in the quality system, add the change. Instead of adding this type of authorization to the actual role, create a temporary role, add only the specific authorization and assign to this user. Otherwise you will have a very big impact in the system. Okay, right now for our system is only testing system, so I directly added here. So I right now added this authorization. Now let me go and try to change. It still says some authorization is missing. Now let me refresh the buffer by saying /n. So it refreshes the buffer, then I go to PA30 again. Let's go to personal data and change. Yeah, you see, now I can change the data. That means the authorization what we got during our SU53 is incorrect, during our trace also incorrect. And don't be surprised or don't be confused, this may not happen in all the cases. We are trying to demonstrate you some of the very rare case of authorization issues. So in this type of cases, you already know this authorization object is not related to any of this action which the user is trying to do. In this case our trace didn't work. You can also put that authorization object, anyway it will not work, as you know this is not what the user wants. But we can also do one more thing. Let's say right in this case we already know okay, this personal data is related to info type 002. If you add this one, then this is going to happen. So since we already learned what is it happen, in a different situation you don't know what is the user is trying to do, but at least know, you know the screen, you know the transaction code, what you know what the user is trying to do. So you ask the user shown you how to do this one, to reproduce this one. So if I am in that kind of situation, what I will do is I will try to simulate this issue with an user ID which I have authorization. So right now I am in the trainer user ID, for example. So I will simulate this issue. PA30. This is the this is been edited by different user. Let me come out from this user. Okay, go to PA30. So this is the personal data which we are trying to change. Here I could change it. So what I will do, here it's working, so I'll go to ST01, trace my own user, trainer 1, trace on, then I select this and change. back and say trace off, go to analysis, then change the time because we are in a different time zone here now. So the system time is, I believe, already 25. Okay, let me put it 24 to 25. Execute. These are our old traces. Okay, now you can see this is the trace which is related to the activity what we done. Initially it was trying to execute info type 001 and then info type 002. Then we also got the same authorization object which we got during our execution. So the what should have happened here, say this also was required. This was something related to some archiving which is enabled in the system. So it checked, for example, it checked 001. Actually this is not mandatory one. Okay, this is just a validation. And second, again it's checking the same type, only the info type is changed. So system assumes this also not a mandatory check. Then it checks the next one. Then system assumes this is the mandatory check. So it's little tricky one. So that's the reason the HR is little tricky. So this is not mandatory. We are trying to do 002, which you know already very clear. We need to know do 002. So it did a validation on 001 whether you have, because 002 is somehow related, something is related to 001 also. That's the reason it checked. So 002 also is not there. So system thinks 001 also is not a mandatory one. System 02 is not a mandatory one. Since it's related to something also related to authorize this archiving, this just check the last one. So the SU53 gave only this one. This is quite strange issue which you cannot identify. So based on what I understood the business, based on what I traced and everything, I can come to a conclusion. Okay, this is the one which is maybe required for this user. This is the one object which is maybe required for this user. Then we can add this one. So the conclusion which I would like to make here is the HR is not very straightforward authorization concept. It is little bit complex, but you need to understand the HR also little bit in order to understand the authorization. This applies to all the modules, not only HR, that you need to know little bit of business transactions. That means you do not need to know how each and every transaction work. Then when you talk to the user, then you need to be able to understand what the user is trying to do. So if you take an overview of all SAP business process, then you can understand this better, like sales, how to create sales order works, what is the sales order process, and little bit about purchase order process and FI, ER and AP. Then if you know a little bit of all this functional, then it will be easy to understand the security requirement for each module. In many of the companies, if you see, the security consultant also divided into module wise. You have a security consultant who will take care of FI, somebody who specializes in HR, somebody specialized in SD. But this also we cannot say this is 100% will work, but because there's most of the things when you comes to a business scenario, this works together, but you need to know almost everything. Yeah, that is the key role what we play. That is the importance of a security consultant in any organization. So based on the analysis, we added only the info type 002 for the user, 02 for the user. Then we go to the user, 30. Now we are able to change the specific Now we are able to change the specific info type. So next one, let's look into the one more field called personal area. So actually we can find out what are the personal area for each employee. If you go to PA20, check what is the user. Okay, trainer. I'll go to PA20. This user personal area is available in this organization assignment. You select this and say okay. You can see enterprise structure. The enterprise structure, this is the personal area. Okay, so my personal area is for this specific user is 31300. Let's go to the role. Maybe we can try to change the role, restrict only to this user or only to this personal area, then we can see how it's going to work. Address maintenance. Right now we restrict this personal area for write access only to this specific personal area 1300, and the read access from 000 to 002 we have for all personal areas. Let it be like this. I'll go back to that user. This is my trainer user. I'll go to the student user. This is the student user which has the specific role which we have changed now. If you go to /n, okay, refresh, PA30. So it can change this person area still. If I take a different employee from a different personal area, it says no value found. The reason that we cannot display because this specific user does not have authorization to display all the users, authorization to display the different personal numbers. So let's go back to our trainer user. Now this trainer user, if you try here, this have SAP all, it should be able to work. I go to personal area, I select example Paris, select, see I got some users here. So this is a user, for example user, close this one. Okay, now the student whose personal area is restricted to only that specific personal area, then I am trying to put a different employee number or personal number and changed. Now have authorization for these three. As you see in the second tab, we have authorization for all personal areas. And it already lost the authorization for address because the role what we have or what we create, what we modified, let's say /n pfcg, this is our role. So here we have only authorization to 1300, yeah, for 02 and 06. In here we have authorization to 000 to 002, only read access. So effective authorization for this user is the second one. So they have 000, 001, 002. So let's see whether they can change something here. You cannot maintain any personal data. Let's see what is my SC53 says now still complex, or I get something correct. Now I get something correct. It's a different scenario. So I get something correct. It says I'm trying to read info type 006 for the personal area 2200, the employee group 1 and the employee subgroup F4, and subtype is not maintained, and this is the organization key. This what role I have? If you click here, expand all trees, select and click here, then it will expand everything. You can see here what I have. I can do modification for info type 002 and 006 for the personal area 1300, and I can display all personal area info type 0002 001, but all personal area only I can display. So that's what is happening here. So effective for this specific user, it's only this one. So effective for this specific user, for this particular personal area, what we are seeing is read access. That means display access for info type 0000 and 0001 and 0002. Only these three. So if you go back and see PA 20 or PA 30, you can only display this authorization. That's the way we can differentiate the personal area from one identity to a different identity. So we have seen how to provide authorization to specific personal area, or how to restrict authorization to specific personal area in combination with info type and the authorization levels. Let's have a look into our system. What are all the personal area available in the system, or how to find out these kind of customizing setting. This can be very useful sometime to identify what are all the personal area presently available. So let's go to our system. In order to do customizing or to display customizing, we will use a transaction called SPRO. This is the main transaction code where you can do all the customizing activity irrespective of the module. That means for HR, for any logistic, SDF, ICO, whatever the module it is, and this is the transaction code you will be doing customizing. So in this transaction code you can actually create different project to do different customizing, but in our case we don't have different project. We will go to standard SAP reference IMG. Here you go to enterprise structure. Here you have enterprise structure. Then you go to definition. Then you select human resource management. Here you can see personal areas, personal sub areas, employee groups, employee subgroup. So if you select the personal area, select the second one, say choose personal areas. So these are all the personal areas presently configured in the system. So generally what is being done, let's say if the HR consultant has a request that you wanted to create a personal area, he will go to this SPRO setting and say create a new entry, then put the personal area number and specify the text whatever you have seen, and put the personal address, then save this entry, then it will create a TR, it will be transported to a different system. So this is a way how to create a personal area. So for us, we just want to display, or we wanted to find out what all the personal area which is available, and from here we can find out what all the personal area which is available in the system. And same like this, you can also find out other thing, the personal sub areas. Here you can see, let's say one personal area, 1,000, then select this, then you can see what all the personal sub areas available for this personal area. Presently here nothing, so it has only default sub area, there is no sub areas. So if you want to create, you can simply click here and create it. Then let's see how many employee groups we have. These are all the employee groups and employee subgroup. Choose. So these are all the employee subgroups which is presently available. The reason why we need to know this, you may not do this customizing activity. In a project, when you're designing an authorization concept, it is always better to know how to find this information. When you find this information, then you are sure that you are not depending on somebody else to clarify this kind of information. Maybe sometime your combination of personal and personal sub area is incorrect, or sometime there's some user saying that, okay, I have a issue that I wanted to create a document with this personal area and this personal sub and this sub area number, but it gives an error. So you wanted to find out whether this sub area belongs to this personal area. Then you can find out from the customizing activity. Let's say we don't know where this menu path is available. It's very difficult to remember all this menu path. Then what you can do is, you can simply click the search button and you type in here personal areas. Now this will search all the SPRO menu path, same like searching our menu path. It will give you full detail. Then you can select whatever which may be relevant to your search criteria which you may be looking for. So let's go back. We seen authorization and personal area. We have couple of others, personal sub areas. Where do we have? Okay, we have personal sub area. So let's see here. We know already info type, we know authorization level, we know what is personal area and personal sub area. We know how to search personal sub area. Personal sub area is a further division of personal area. That means the personal area is further divided into sub areas. Now, let's say for example you have a company location. So company location is a personal area. You have a company code. Under the company code you have a company location. Then you create personal area based on company location, and under this company location then you create some departments like HR or finance or some kind of departments or service. So these are all personal sub areas. Then we come to employee group. This employee group is nothing but, this employee can be divided into two different kind of group. For example, active employee or retired employees. So the reason is some companies still pay retirement benefits or pensions. So we need to keep this employee record. So we can, for whatever your legal requirements or the company policies, you may need this kind of classification. So we can have employee groups. So further down, employee subgroup. This employee group can be further, you can divide into two subgroup. For example, active employees or trainees can be a separate subgroup, or who is in payroll, there can be a separate subgroup. Who are in payroll, you create a subgroup and put it there. Trainees, you keep in the separate subgroup, or some contract workers, you can be a separate subgroup. And again, this depends on your company setup. The next one is organization key. You need to understand this organization key does not mean something like personal area, some customizing organization key. This is basically coming from for example, this organization key is some kind of text. Yeah, let's understand like this. It's a text field. Generally it start 4 characters, which from personal area, then another 10 characters will be from cost center. This again depends on how you define it. So generally this organization key is a 14-digit character which has some character inside. So initially we start with personal area, then we define some organization key. Then again on top of it, this organization key have some kind of time dependency. You can define it for one specific time period. So this organization key, maybe we can see in the system, then it will be quite clear. Let's go to the transaction PA20. Let's look into our favorite employee 1000, and generally this organization key is assigned in this organization assignment, that is the info type 001. So select that and say display. Where is organization key? Yeah, here, organization key. So it's basically have 14 digits. Here we have only 4 digit. So it generally it's defined as with starting with the personal number, then ends with cost center, then again it depends. So let's check the another user. Yeah, maybe we can check this user. Organization assignment. Yeah, here we have further down we have some another additional 10 characters. So this organization key is created and assigned to each respective users or respective personal numbers. So that is organization key. Then we have payroll administrator, master data administrator, and time administrator. These 3 fields are generally a 3-digit character. So we can create payroll administrator, different payroll administrators. And next one is display HR master data. It's also a 4-digit field, which again we defined in organization assignment, that is the same info type we have seen, this 001. Okay, let's go further. Then let's have a look into the PRGIN and PRGIN con. This PRGIN con is the new authorization object which is available in the latest SAP NetWeaver systems, which is almost equal to PRGIN, but the PRGIN con have additional field called authorization profile. This authorization profile means SAP HR has 2 different kind of authorization. One is called structural authorization, one is called the PFCG authorization. The structural authorization based on PD profile, we will see that how the structural authorization works in a coming session. We generally in the older versions we used to have PRGIN, which controls the authorization based on authorization object. Then the structural authorization used to be defined in a separate transaction code called OOSB to assign the profile to each respective users. In PRGIN con, that we can assign the profile value to the user in the PFCG itself. So that is the main difference. So instead of having it in two different places, in the latest version of NetWeaver, it is combined with the new authorization object, so this can be together. That means in the new ECC or new NetWeaver system, this authorization object is available. However, you can still use this authorization object. So if let's assume that you don't want to use this, you are not comfortable with this one, you can still use this. Or if you are upgrading from a 4.x system to an ECC system which has a new authorization object, either you can use the old one the same way as it is. If you like to migrate, it is possible to migrate. But you need to put the new authorization object, and you need to also convert your structural profiles to the PD profiles to this authorization objects, meaning you need to assign the PD profile into the roles. So that's a main difference. Perhaps that's the only difference. So far what we have seen is only one object, POGIN. There is one more object called POGIN XX. So the difference between POGIN and POGIN XX is quite small. Let's have it look in the system, then it will be very easy to understand. Let's say go to our PFCG, go to our same this one, change data. Again, this is the best method to find out what are all the objects we have, or if you are quite not sure about some of the authorization objects, if you want to know about that more, simply go and add this to some test role, then you can find out that what it is going to do, or you can study about that. I said initially in this course that don't try to memorize all the authorization objects which we'll see in our SAP. It is not possible. That is thousands of authorization objects. Instead, find some mechanism how you can find out this authorization object, or how you can use this authorization object. That is more important. So let's add the authorization object P underscore or XX. So we can compare these two. Okay, so this is called extended check. So you can see it's almost look like same, yeah, little bit difference. So we have in POGIN you have authorization level, we also have authorization level here, then info type, same info type, then you have payroll administrator. Here we do not have payroll administrator, you have personal area. Then you have employee group. Here we have administrator for HR master data. Then we have administrator for time recording. Then we have administrator group and subtype. Okay, so the difference between POGIN and POGIN XX, that in the POGIN XX you can drill down to specific groups. Like you can have payroll administrator, you can have specific group, one group of people, or an additional group of people who can do payroll administrator, and then we can assign this specific authorization to one specific group. So that means you can drill down further down that to specify these authorizations. So in general cases, like what we will do, let's say if POGIN XX is enabled, generally if there is no specific changes, then we will assign the same info types and authorization level also to POGIN XX, then we are done. So in the case of payroll administrator and the case of time recording, then we will further down specify the field values in the specific fields. So in the normal conditions, in a small setup, that we don't use this extended check, then if it is not enabled, then SAP will not check it. So if you enable it, then this will be checked. See, we already seen how to enable this in OOAC transaction code. We can enable this, and in our case it's not enabled, so we didn't use it. So I will delete it. Let's go back to our presentation. Next authorization objects which we would like to talk about is p-burner. This is one of the most important authorization object. This is the authorization object which is a negative authorization object. So positive authorization object, let's say we have plugin. If you wanted to change the basic pay of an user, then we know we need to have authorization for plugin info type 008. So with authorization level write and read and stuff like this. So we need to have the authorization. The p-burner, what happens is, if you have this authorization, then you are restricted. So whatever you want to restrict, you will assign in this authorization. Okay, and the other way around, that whatever you want to grant, you will assign this you will assign an authorization object. So in this case, you will restrict an authorization by providing this authorization object. Okay, let's see here. For example, right now we have 002 and 006. So from here I wanted to restrict only 006 for this user. Then I will add this one. I will enable this. Then authorization level right for info type 0006. Okay, the next field is interpretation of assignment. This is quite tricky one. You have two values here. One is include, another one is exclude. Let's press F1. If I say I, that means additional authorization for assigned personal number. If I say E, then exclude authorization for assigned personal number. We cannot put star here. If you put star, then it does not make any values. Let's say this p-burner object, what it does, if this particular object is available, what context we are going to use this p-burner authorization object, that we need to understand first. For example, I am a HR administrator. I can change everybody's basic pay. In this case, if I change my own basic pay, then what happens? How do I restrict this basic pay changed for my own record? So that's a big risk. So the p-burner is used to restrict your own, that means the login user own records. So as soon as the p-burner is available for this user, then it is restricted for this user. This specific thing, whatever we include in this authorization object is restricted. So for example, I am the administrator now, which I can change the 006 address. So I can change the address of everybody. Okay, if I change the address of mine, then it's going to be a problem. So I should not be changed my own record. So what I will do, I will say exclude CE, exclude the subtype all. So if I put it like this, then for me, my own personal number, if I go to change, I cannot have write authorization for this info type 006. So I can have 02 from here. When I access 02, nothing will happen. When I access my own 06, then it will check this p-burner and it will not allow me to do. Now you you will have some question. How does the system know this is my personal number? Because your user ID can be anything. The personal number is a different number which is coming from HR. So for that, you need to define your what is the validation of each user in a different info type. That info type is communication info type. It's called communication. The info type is 0105 PA30 or PA20. Let's go to PA20. Let's take our famous employee. I go to info type 0105. If I go to this info type communication, go to display. Here we specified the user ID. So each employee or each personal number should have a communication ID specified here. So if I specify, if this particular HR manager login as a user ID called HR manager, then they cannot change their own user ID. So this we will identify as soon as we log in, we identify this user, they go to PA30, then PPerner will go back and check the info type 001, whether this is the same person, then it will restrict. Hope I made this clear. So in this type of communication you can change. At the moment this is system name. We have so many different identification we can use any of that. We have system name, SAP2, NetPass, fax, email, private email, cell phone number. So these are all unique fields. So you need to find out which is the unique field which you can use to identify this user. The logged in user is the person of this specific personal number. So we need to identify each personal number with an login ID, provided they have a login ID. So if they don't have a login ID, then we don't need to control them. Anyway, they are not going to come into our system. So this is the best option to identify. Let's say I am the HR manager, I have PPerner, so I will log in with HR manager. Then this is already identified. As soon as I log in, it's identified my personal number is 1000. So the PPerner knows I cannot edit 1000, or it's already in the buffer. That's the way we can identify the user. So let's go back to our role. So if you wanted to include, you can include, and you have also exclusion. Is this basically okay? Not done mainly in 06. Mainly it will be done in like info type like 008, which is basic pay, and timesheet and allowances, which is related to financials. Everybody financials, then PPerner will be used. So this is very important and interesting authorization object. The next authorization object is P_APPL. P_APPL. This authorization objects deals with maintaining and displaying PA info type for application data that is related to recruitment. The info type ranging from 4000 to 4999 is being controlled by this authorization object. So first we have seen first POGIN and POGIN XX for different info type, and info type starting from 4000 to 4999 is controlled by P_APPL. Same like POGIN and POGIN XX, you have authorization switch to enable and disable this authorization for extended check. However, in same like that, you don't have the switch for PAPPL, this is by default it will check. Let's see what are all the authorization fields, available for this particular authorization object. Let's simply go to our system, then add this into the role. That will be the easiest way to check. Manually add P underscore APPL application. So I have P underscore APPL, then we have all these fields. We have application group, then application range, authorization level, info type, personal area, then personal officer responsible, subtype and organization key. These are all the fields related to PAPPL. You may think, okay, then what happens if I put 000 here? Will it accept? Yes, it will accept because it's just an entry, but the effective info type will be 4000 to 4999. Whatever is related to recruitment only will be applicable in this authorization object. Let's go back to our presentation. Next one is PLOC authorization object. The authorization object PLOC is used for securing personal development data, that is PD data. As we discussed earlier, there are two type of info types, like personal administration and PP, personal planning. PD data comes under personal planning, and hence it is controlled with the info type 1000 to 1999. So PLOC have some authorization fields. Let's check into the authorization fields, then we will understand this better. Let's directly add into the role, so quite fast and easy to understand. Annual PLOC. Okay, we already have this object here anyway. Okay, the first one is info type. So info type, as I said, the PLOC info type start with 1000 to 1999. So info type, then planning status, then object type, plan version, then function code and subtype. So these are all the fields in the personal planning data. For example, this plan version, right now this is by default comes as star. This have different versions, like 01 will be an active version. Generally you will find 01 always. This will be an active version. There is different versions in this plan versions, so we can specify the plan version here which should be accessed by this user. Then object type is basically it's an object specified for each user, so we can control this access by this object type. Then planning status, ISTAT, they specify the planning status in which the user is authorized to access. Then we have function code, that is PPF code. This specify the editing mode, which says change or display etc. With this authorization we can specify the editing mode here. Okay, this is a function code. This field defines which type of information processing display may be changed which the user is authorized. Possible values are defined in the table T77FC. So let's have a look into this one. Create session. So in this table, if you go inside, then you can see the function code. These are all the different function codes: reject, change, copy, or delete. This will be the input for this specific function. So we can define the function code, then it will activate the specific functions for this authorization object. So that is about plog for PD data. Okay, with this we are coming to the end of the session. I will see you in the next session. Bye bye.